this mandate can only survive when it is metricable. In other words, when it nourishes itself in a way that all the entities that are involved in it benefit one way or the other. That is how a relationship thrives. And we all need that relationship. So, in terms of a company, we know that company is a system because it has got input and output. The input comes from suppliers, customers, the people you relate with, and all that. Then, through your internal mechanisms, you're able to come up with the output, which of course may be the product or service that you bring out. The beautiful thing is that along the value chain, the company must ensure that whichever entity or element that it comes in contact with, the company leaves a lasting impression, an impression that is mutual, that is really top-notch, exceptional, lasting, and generating loyalty. And that is what relationship is. So relationship is at the very core of the survival of society, of which we as individuals make up the society, and our activities such as companies are part of it.
Right. Doc, Prof. What are some practical ways businesses can foster loyalty? Because you mentioned loyalty. How can businesses foster loyalty and trust with their customers?
Thanks. Loyalty is a big word, and sometimes it's happening really. Because people talk about loyalty, but what actually engenders loyalty? We need to unpack it. And to unpack loyalty, we need to know why must we even be thinking about loyalty? Because, and I'm going to take this one a bit so that we get to know this from the perspective of marketing. When businesses started, they started first of all with production, where people come out with inventions, okay?
Yeah.
And then the inventions, they come out with the products. And because they have the patents and all that, what they introduce is what the customer or the customers have to accept because they got the invention. Then came a time that they realized that, no, it's not all about the availability and the acceptability, but we need a product that is of quality. That's where we move from the production orientation to the product orientation of creating relationship and loyalty with customers. Initially, we were thinking that if we can produce anything, since we got a machine and we can produce anything, then the customer will love us. Okay? So you are the restaurant business and you are the only one doing your work. So your job is just to produce and produce because you are the only one in town. Then we moved to quality, where we said, no, if we do the right thing, we may be in Kopovia or Kumasi, Akade. Once you are doing that thing right, people will come all the way to Kumasi to come and buy it. So, for example, Kente is a big thing. So people would like to go to Bombay area in Kumasi because they think they'll get authentic Kente, isn't it? They are operating more on the product orientation, which is based on quality. And what is quality? Quality is freedom from defects. In other words, the very value of the product is such that it meets your expectation.
Right.
So from the product orientation, we also realize that if you are eating the best shawarma every day, a time will come you will not even like shawarma or jollof, you name it. So we move to the selling orientation, where we say, oh, it doesn't really matter the quality of the product per se. If you can get the right salespeople with the gift of gab, eloquence, they're able to really get, people to buy ice in Greenland or Iceland. Then those are the guys who are looking for, people with the plasticity of the lips and the ability to be able to get, people to really buy stuff before they can really get to understand what they're buying for.
Right.
Then that is the selling distribution. But we realized at the time that was also not working. And that is where marketing actually started, the market orientation or the customer orientation, where we said that businesses must start with the needs of the people. And that is where some buzzwords like, phrases like the customer is always right, the customer first and all that came from the marketing orientation or the customer orientation, which says that start with the needs of the customer. And what do we mean by the needs of the customer? A need is a state of felt deprivation. In other words, when you look at the Maslow hierarchy, okay? For example, we look at the physiological needs, talking about shelter, food, some even add sex. I don't want to get into that. But these are basic needs, okay, that we have. Right to the very apogee of it, where we have the self-actualization. Okay? Along this pyramid, we have needs dotted all along. And that is why our job as marketers, and anytime we talk about loyalty, we should know along the pyramid what kind of product or service we are delivering that are able to delight our customers. Anytime customers come in contact with a product or a service, they are either satisfied, dissatisfied, or delighted. When they are delighted, that means that you have gone beyond their expectation, exceeded their expectation.
Right.
When they are dissatisfied, that means that the cognitive dissonance that they had before coming in contact with the product, you have blessed them with that negativity. When they are satisfied, that means that they have met their expectation.
Right.
When customers are dissatisfied, they go rampage like a mad cow, and they go telling another 15 to 20 more people. That's how dangerous it is for a business to be underperforming.
Right.
It affects the market share right away. But just so that we are intellectually, accurate, there's a last orientation, which is the societal orientation, which says that we don't need to only satisfy the customer. The customer is not always right because society must take precedence in the way we do business.
Right.
That's where we have the stakeholder theory and the shareholder theory, because quintessential business from the Adamic and the Ricardian perspective is more about wealth maximization and the wealth creation. So you create wealth and you maximize it. But sometimes in this process of creating wealth and maximizing it, for example, Galamsey, okay? You are creating wealth and you want to make more money, but then you are affecting the environment, for example. When you are doing that, society frowns upon it because sustainable development is very much part of business now. And these are the frameworks in which we should actually address issues of loyalty and not to romanticize loyalty as something that is hanging there and we just go plug it.
Right.
We need to understand what do we do to really engender loyalty. And not just to treat it, but to also sustain it. And we do that by knowing what the customer wants, and also for it to be in tandem with the mission and the vision of the company, as well as having at the back of our minds environmental sustainability, societal sustainability, the well-being of people. That is why I always say that first things first, if we want to create loyalty, then we have to be a model of what? Being loyal. How can companies themselves be loyal? By not cutting corners, making sure that their quality is great. They have to also ensure that they are 4 Ps, and you all know the 4 Ps or the 7 Ps of marketing, the marketing mix that they put in place, the pricing strategy, the promotion, the product, you name it, the personnel, the physical ambience, the process, everything added up to it, the product itself. All of it must be done with the mindset that when the customer receive the service or encounter the service or the product, they are in a way delighted. And when customers are delighted, there is that likelihood that they are going to do repeat purchase or rebuy. Now, it costs 15 times more, according to Philip Kotler, to attract a new customer. So that's how beautiful it is that you must not lose opportunity. Anytime a customer comes close to your product, you must endeavor as a company with all the systems you have put in place that you're able to get them ensorcelled, mesmerized, hypnotized, delighted to your product.
Right.
And when they know that you have their best welfare at hand, they will come to you always. And that is where relationship starts.
Right.
So relationship really is the pedestal of loyalty.
Right. Okay, Prof. Thank you. Thank you for those thoughts you just shared. Now, before we got into the conversation, there's a segment on the show we call Business Brief, and usually I would share something briefly before we have the conversation, and it's just to lead us into the conversation. And I shared the story of Starbucks. Now, Starbucks struggled with customer loyalty and all of that, and at the point they realized that the market was becoming too crowded, and customers had a lot of options, and so because of that they had to settle on trying to to put in some strategies to build their customer loyalty. And one of the things that they did was to create a community where the customers could come for book readings and all of that, and that actually enhanced their work. I just say that to tease out the question that I'm coming to ask you. Now, some of the most inspiring business success stories stem from companies that have been able to transform their customer relations. Can you share a story of a business that significantly improved its customer relationships and saw some major growth as a result?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, even using the same Starbucks example, just punchate on it. You know, Starbucks, you just mention it, and what comes to mind right away is the coffee. But they realize that, listen, it's all about coffee, because you can get coffee anywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they actually started allowing people to even have their mini meetings in there, you know, and that created a bond between people from different workplaces and all that. So it was like an office away from office.
Mm.
Although they've been struggling according to current data, and some of the shops are closing down. It was also because they were aggressively trying to, expand their business.
Mm.
You see, and of course, business, Philip Kotler would say that the marketplace is moving at a nanosecond pace. The marketplace is commercial, it's full of dynamism, and even if you're the market leader, you always have to be watching your back, because somebody wants to take that position or your market share from you.
Right.
So Starbucks started selling some food as well instead of the coffee, trying to, leverage, what they have to be able to become a more formidable brand. And even as they are holding up in some places, it's all about consolidating their position so that they don't spread themselves thin. The three main strategies of, according to Philip Kotler, of business strategies for surviving, according to Kotler, is the cost leadership. Then you have the niche, which is also the focus. Then in between, you have differentiation, okay? If you are trying to beat down the cost, and you yourself, you are also not able to differentiate yourself the more, then you get stuck in the middle. In other words, people get confused about you, whether you are for cost reduction or you are for superior products like Armani, okay?
Yeah.
And that's why the same principle happened to Toyota, because Toyota really, in the minds of people, in fact, when Toyota entered the U.S. market, they had a small car called Toyopet. Toyopet was more like the base now we have small cars and all that. They thought the Americans like big cars, so why not bring these small cars that they have in Asia, Korea and all that. But the Americans didn't really go for that car at the time. Although now there's an emerging market for, smaller cars, the solar and the, solar powered cars and the electric cars and all that. But that time, Toyopet really started. And to be able to really create a differentiated product or vehicle, that's where Lexus came.
Yeah.
So Lexus really was to, in a way, come to compete with BMW and Mercedes.
Right.
Because in the minds of people, what we call in marketing or in business, the evoked set. When you talk about luxury brands, Toyota was not there. Okay? So we need to always be aware of our initial strategies and to see whether the products or the service that we want to go into really is in tandem with the brand equity that we have built. For example, Coca-Cola, one time was tempted to go into clothing, okay? But it had to back down on that idea because it realized that its core competence was more into something like this, to do with if they want to go into water and all that. I mean, like, for example, Tropicana is owned by Pepsi, and they use that as a strategy to be able to, maybe sometimes like a bypass strategy to get more of resources to be able to compete in their field for the cash cow. So the cash cow market, if they want to compete, for example, Pepsi want to compete with cola, then they are able to use more resources that they've gotten from another, sometimes not so familiar, area of competition, but get resources from that to be able to compete well in their well-known domain. So the market is quite fluid, but you must always know what you're about so that you don't spread yourself thin. Remember, buyers have got their bargaining power. The buyer's bargaining power is also very important. And if you are not able to address the buyer's bargaining power well, ultimately it will affect your market share.
Right. Prof, let's also talk about businesses personalizing their customer interactions. Now, today we live in a world where customers crave personal attention, and businesses must find ways to connect with without crossing boundaries. How can businesses personalize their customer interactions without being intrusive?
It's a big thing. The era of AI and this high-tech proliferation is a big thing. But then as a business, if you play possum, you become a dinosaur. So you must always find novel ways, innovate, to be able to meet the demands of the market. You don't do that, you're going to be in trouble. So, for example, before the driveway for KFC and McDonald's, the fast food industry became, so somebody has to sit down and say, look, some people are so busy, they don't have time to come and sit in the restaurant or the place for even more than 10 minutes. In some of the places, if they spend more than 5 minutes, they will not even pay. They will take their phone, they will not pay because you have delayed.
Right.
You see? So personalization of communication comes first from the type of product that you have or the service that they are rendering. Sometimes people forget the kind of business that they are in. And just because something is trendy doesn't mean that it is worthy for your business. You must know your business and how to operate. But in the era of digitization and the era of high power computerization of services, any business will be shooting themselves in the foot not to use some form of the digital approach to delivering on their services and products.
Right.
So it depends on the company. For example, if you are in a radio, you cannot stay away from social media, for example. Your social media approach must be that strong. Sometimes, too, some of the most useful inputs, for example, even from your panel members that come and all that, can be turned into some very useful short videos. Where on TikTok, you name it, all this, and could be very useful, approach to just getting these short messages across to people.
Right.
And by people contacting, watching these videos, they may even have access to come to the main platform of SED and get to know your programs and what you are doing. And they even come on board and do business as well. So these are the things. It's just that we are looking for big things to happen, but sometimes the opportunities are just an inch away from our feet.
Right.
We need to, in the process of the high tech, to add the high touch. People love to hear from people. That's why the Ashantis will say, I call cloth. Cloth was smooth. I call gold. Gold was smooth. I call him, and human responded. And we the Panthers will say, one soul, one unipa. In other words, the human interaction, the woman as the fulcrum, the center of communication, can never be arbitrated. So as we go high tech, we have to go high soul, connecting with the souls of people by letting them know that we are in the same boat together, and we are doing business together. And in as much as some of the academic and the studying philosophy may pop up here and there because the business must survive financially, there is that social component to the businesses in a way that seeks their welfare.
Right.
And that seeks the betterment for everybody.
Right. Prof, That is very brilliant. It's 9:30. Sorry, no, not half. Sorry, 9:15, and this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nietzsche B. Hammond. This morning we're talking to Professor Gabriel Ishen, and we are speaking on the power of relationships, how strong connections drive business success. You may want to join the conversation via WhatsApp on 0544321019. 0544321019, 0544321019. You can send in your questions or your comments, and we'll do well to read them for you. We're also live on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH. Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH. And also on YouTube and TikTok, we are Z Multimedia. You could check us out and then drop a comment or a question, and we'll do well to read it for Prof to answer if it's a question. Prof, let's go on in the conversation. Now, a lot more businesses are going digital, and I think you've spoken about that a little. Now, how can companies maintain a human touch in customer service in today's digital first world? Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, you go to the chatbot and all that, they say, hey, if you cannot get the appropriate information here, this is our hotline. And then you can talk to a human being. The response must be one of empathetic concern and interest, and not one that is robotic. You see, your personality will tell on the phone or your interaction. So the people that are trained to be able to connect with the outside world, in other words, outside the company, must be so representative of the company, because they are the ambassadors of the company. That is why, for example, you go to the hotels and all that, at the front desk, they don't just select people who are just preachy, but people with some level of emotional and human intelligence. This ability helps them to be able to address various forms of emotions that the visitors, the customers exhibit when they come in there. So you will not take somebody who, for example, she may be very pretty, if I'm just to use gender a bit here at the front desk, or the guy is very nice looking, but yet, doesn't know how to keep themselves very nice in terms of even their grooming, how they talk, their body language, how they are able to assist people, These are very important things that we cannot ignore. I remember one time I was entering a shop and I was holding a big bag, and I was looking at one of the attendants in the shop, and he was still looking at me that I should, with all my hands occupied, that I should also manage and still open the door, for example. Because this demands that there's something slightly missing in terms of the person's being proactive towards the needs of customers. So I entered and I said, you could have helped me a bit. Next time, do help, because I may not even buy anything from here, but I can be an actual buyer later. But your behavior can put me off. Okay? Right. Whilst you are taking money from a company, people want to do minimum and expect the maximum. But it doesn't happen that way. If the coconut at the shop says that it was only going to be embedded in the sand, like the storm will topple it. But the coconut at the shop sends the roots right deep down into the soil. That's why it is able to bear sweet juice for all of us. In other words, you cannot be in a company and your roots are dancing with the sand, which is full of salt. You must go deep into the very soul of the company. And by this, I mean sharing in the 7 P's according to McKinsey, 7 P's, or even to make it just so, easy for understanding the core values of the company. It's like you go to all the secondary schools. I always say that if every Ghanaian is to embody their mottos of their schools, Ghana will be more than what we see today, because all our mottos are so great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every school has got some motto that is so nice. But did we go there to pick certificate, or the motto also really passed through it? That's the same thing we have to ask as a company. That are our employees being symbolic of the very values that we express? And how are they able to radiate that to the customers? When we do that and be able to share in that value system, we will all, no matter our differences, because there will always be differences at the workplace. Most of the customer service we receive in Africa is a reflection of what is going on in our company. Until we get the system in the company working right, the customer service will just be an upper one.
Right.
It will be an appendix. But when we get systems right, the professionalism that is exhibited by the employees themselves, it will radiate, because you cannot give what you don't have. If people have not built within them the right self-esteem, the ability for them to be able to show initiative, to become entrepreneurial, to share in the vision of the company, and not just there expecting a paycheck just for the sake of it.
Right.
Then that company will try. Then the customers that encounter that company, they will be happy. They will be delighted. This is why they can see something different. And that difference is what put the crown on the head of a company.
Right. Prof, let's talk also on the strategies that people put in place, or businesses put in place for their customer relationship, which we call customer relationship strategies. Now, of course, not all customer relationship strategies work. And sometimes businesses unknowingly push customers away. What are the biggest mistakes businesses make when trying to build customer relationships?
One thing is that any relationship that is false is going to plummet. It's called relationship. In other words, it is built. It is not forced, it is built. Now, you look at, for example, a lot of people have got in place many mechanisms for actually getting to know their customers well and how to serve them. For example, if you go to tourism sites, they may have the visitors comment book where people write the experiences there, which of course becomes something very useful for the managers there to be able to look at and see what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong and what they can build on and all that. Most of the time, we have these feedback mechanisms in these companies. You can see the upstairs. They can, even online, they can, give you many platforms for people to talk about it. In the modern world, for example, if you are in tourism again, you go to TripAdvisor. and you go, you type, for example, I'm not going to mention any company because they've not paid you for that, but a company A, you go in there and they write something nice about them. You as a company can easily get to know what they are saying about you, isn't it? So company A in Accra, company B in Kumasi, Takrade, Tamale, you can always go online and find out what people are saying about you as a feedback, because the online presence and the users, they are increasing day by day. And sometimes when they are one-on-one with you, they may not have the boldness to be able to say that your toilet facilities are crap, okay? But when they are away and they are on the internet, they can say that. Then you do something about it. And you can even put a nice pictures after you have done that and put it down there and say, unfortunately, the time you came, we're working on it and all that, but this is the new facilities we got. You get it? So you are building a community. They call it ethnography. Ethnography means studying the people in real life. The citizens on the net are also creating their own societies and groups, and we need to be able to tap into that. The other one is the feed forward. We don't always need to get the feedback on our product or service. Sometimes we can preempt it and see what people can say about it before we actually even bring that product. So the feed forward strategy is also very important. Then we can also do the lost customer analysis to find out why we have lost some customers. We don't often do that, but we need to be able to find out why we have lost them, because then we'll be able to get to know the reasons behind their decisions and how, if through constructivism we are able to come to terms that they may be right and we are wrong, then we take it from there. But we just can't say that if we are losing customers, we will not do anything about it. That's why market research is very important for us to constantly be aware of where we are in terms of the mind share of the people or the customers. Right. The mind share is as important as the market share, because the mind share tells us what they are even thinking about it, and it enables us to be able for us to craft, new strategies to be able to exceed their expectations.
Right, Doc. Sorry, Prof. I keep calling you Doc.
Don't worry. Titles don't matter. What matters is action.
Right. Okay, so I want us to move to internal relationship. There are some things we'll talk about on customer relationship, but let's talk about internal team relationships. Now, of course, great customer service starts from within. And strong relationships between employees create a positive work culture that translates into better customer experiences. And when I shared on the Starbucks story, I think that's one of the things that I highlighted. Now, how do strong internal relationships among team members improve customer service? How do strong internal relationships among team members improve customer service?
Thank you very much. Let me give you this short story. It tells about, I think it's going to throw a bit of light on the question.
All right.
3 people go into the bush, they set up a trap, okay? One is 20 years, one is 30 years, one is 50 years. They catch a big antelope. They share the antelope, and one of them takes the hind leg, the front leg takes a big portion. What do you think the rest will feel? So the question here is that there must be equity, there must be fairness in the team. You get it?
Yeah.
Fairness ensures that the team members are happy.
Right.
And they have each other's back. Second point is that respect is very important. You cannot overlook respect, because respect is the amalgam of the value you place on people or a person. How much value you place on a thing or a person determines the amount of respect that you give. And if you see every human being as a human being and as an image of God, the respect you have for yourself, you cannot measure less.
Right.
And share with the same person. So here is a fact which has always been placed in all the sacred books of the world. We should love our neighbor as we love ourselves. That is the crucible of respect, caring for others, and being there for others. When there's a team and we show that value of our humanity to each other, the team becomes stronger.
Right.
So respect is very important. The other item is responsibility. In a team, we must all know we are responsible to each other and the mandate that we have. If we leave the work on the shoulder of one person, the shoulder of that person will soon slant into oblivion, into complaining, into crying, into depression. So we need to be each other's help. We need to know that the success of the team is based on each one of us doing our bit. Because what? The sum of the individual output will always be greater than the sum of that one person's input. That is the essence of the teamwork. For us to know that together in the night, each one of us shining our star bright, will be able to lift heads to look at the constellation and the marvel of our individual output together, forming that vision. That is what we should do. Then the last one, which is the last of the three R's of sustainable relationship, is reciprocity.
Right.
We must know that one hand washes the other washes the other. When two work together, they can go further. So we must know when we look in the eyes of our friends, our colleagues, our workers, and we know with the empathetic spirit we should have, discern and know the panting of their soul, and render that needed service. In fact, there is a word I learned very early on in my life. I think I was about 11 years reading the Bible, and the word is sakar, S-U-C-C-O-U-R. And sakar is timely intervention. In a team, we shouldn't wait for one person to be falling down before we help.
Right.
And that's what Abishai did. Came to the aid of David and helped him to defeat the giant, which was about killing David. There was another giant which was about killing David in the Bible. It was David's guy, Abishai, who came. So we need the Abishais in the team, people who come and help. But everybody must be an Abishai in the team, actually. If we care about the team, then we must help each other. You see, helping each other to show that nyansa onyi nipa baako ne tirim means that together. The spiders can tie up the lion. It means that your expertise and my expertise can come in along the line to make all of us look good. A heart of competition is a heart that is trending on the road of depression. Because if your mind is all about competition, even somebody's cough will give you discomfort. So we need to be able to see that, this team, if I help this person, I'm actually helping myself. So reciprocity is very important. And we need the respect, the responsibility, and the reciprocity to ensure sustainable relationship.
Right. Let me just read this message that is coming through. Doc says that, hello Zed, this is Rasking. Okay, I'm embarking on a road trip to the breathtaking Abri Mountains, so my buddy Jamal and his brother-in-law gets me pumped with some electrifying tunes. Okay, Rasking will do that probably after the conversation. Now, Prof, let's also talk about one other thing that is very, very important, and that is the subject of leadership. How can leaders empower their workers or their employees or their team members to stay together?
Leadership is everything. Leadership is what makes the ship of relationship reach the destination. Who is a leader? A leader is a person who influences you for you to reach beyond yourself. A leader is a person that enables you to look beyond the shadows of your own self. A leader is a person that ignites something within you. A leader is a person that builds your faith and rekindles your hope. Lift up your eyes beyond the doldrums and the conundrums. A leader helps you to bring the sun so that the share better your soul can melt and flow in the directions that you need. A leader is a person that you see and you aspire to become, and even more. That is the beauty of a leader. Why? Because leadership is everything. And we need transformative leaders. By transformative leaders, we need leaders that are able to let you think outside the box and sometimes think as if there is no box. Leaders of possibilities, of novel things. Leaders that are able to help you to re-engineer, to reset your mindset, to see, no matter which background that you have, the resplendent nature of your calling. They help you to stay resilient. They help you to know that if only you keep on keeping on, you will be a site of difference in that milieu of ordinariness. They help you to see that you matter in the world. They help you to know that today you may be suffering, but if only you keep on keeping on, tomorrow the story may be different. They let you know that resources matter, and you must use the resources you have today wisely in the journey of your calling. They help you grow. They help you stay strong. They lift you up when you are down. They encourage you. And they also, because they care about you, they speak truth to you, sometimes so uncomfortable. But they know that if they don't, you will be in that comfort zone, and in that, your potentials will wither. But they want you to bear fruit. And there are thousands and there are thousands. So they will come to you and say, bear fruit. And how do you bear fruit? You must know your purpose. You must plan. You must prepare. In some of the cases, you must even become autodidactic. Practicing Kaizen, persistence improvement. Do not always wait to be told what to do. The river does not wait for the rain to tell it what to do. Immediately it rains into it, it knows what to do. So we must have self-initiative. We must break the inertia. We must show self-entrepreneurship. When we take care of problems, problems solved, we take care of our needs too. So we need to be able to always be solution givers. And that's what leaders are about. They are looking at how we can, through the quagmire, the quandary, always come up with something that all of us will be proud of. That is a leader.
Right.
Leaders don't complain much. They know that the more we do complain, the more we put webs of the spiders in our way. So they always say, why don't you convert the complaint into the campaign of action? Why don't you train the brain, which is draining in complaining? So by this very nature of who a leader is, selflessness, openness, transparency, a mover of mountains, and even in their vulnerability, they show you that we are all human. But they never throw in the towel unless it is a bad time. They know when to retreat, not as act of cowardice, but rather as a strategy of building the renewal for eventual triumph. That is the beauty of who a leader is.
Right. We are about 9:45, and this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitra Bihamon. This morning, I'm having a conversation with Professor Gabriel Eshin, who is a professor in tourism and marketing management. And this morning, we're having this conversation on the subject of relationship, and we are asking questions around how businesses can be able to establish some strong connections to be able to drive business success. If you just tune in, you can join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH. Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH. Or you can WhatsApp us on 0544321019. 0544321019. Prof, we're gradually coming to the end of our conversation. But okay. I want to know, I know feedbacks are very, very important in workplaces or in business. And I believe it's a very powerful tool for growth. But of course, many workplaces struggle with giving and receiving it constructively. How important is feedback, both giving and receiving, in strengthening team relationships?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, communication must always have the conduit for input and output. When you receive, you decode, you understand the very essence of the message. It is very important. One of the things that often really is a big issue is the issue of lack of understanding. And lack of understanding really is also a matter of the impatience with which we address issues because we don't listen. And listening demands discipline because as you keep quiet and you are receiving the message, whether verbally or non-verbally, some of the issues are going to be like a slap in your face. But yet, you must be calm to listen. So, yesterday I was just teaching somebody about the difference between anger management and patience management. And the difference is patience must be cultivated and it must be sustained. We must build patience within us. And when we do that, anger management then becomes a subset of patience management. So when somebody is patient, is empathetic, the person will have the ear to listen. But most companies may even read some of the feedback messages and all that, and just channel and span them that, oh, okay, these guys are just, crazy, that, and that. But when you are really empathetic, you take your time to go beyond the text, to know the psychological baggage with which these messages came. And you open the zip to get to know the content. And you don't rush to unpack them. You take the items one after the other like a surgeon at work to know that these are the issues. And in your spirit of service, you look at how you can address them. Remember, the customer is not always right. Sometimes they can make mistake as well. But even if they have made mistake, find a nice way. For example, they accuse one of your workers of an issue, okay? And it came across that really were saying that you brought 3 phones to the hotel with all that, you can't find one of them. Later on, you called home and there's the other phone there. And the person who took your bag upstairs with you, now you know that that person is innocent. Okay? The hotel manager, for example, must be able to not go ballistic, okay, but find a nice way of letting the person know that the area reaction and all that could have been better and all that when they were saying they should take their time to check and all that. It is important how we handle issues. How we handle issues are the very portrayal of who a leader is. The difference between a leader and a dictator is the amount of force they apply in addressing issues.
Wow. So let's try and wrap up on how businesses can recover from a damaged customer relationship. So how can businesses recover from a damaged customer relationship?
Thank you very much. There are a lot of maneuvering, a lot of Machiavellian tactics that companies use to get around this. And there's some very transparent ways in which companies also do. I can tell you for a fact, there's a lot of politics when it comes to companies. Companies have their own ways of doing politics with their services and products and the way they want to survive. You know about what even TikTok got banned in the US and all that, okay?
Yeah.
So businesses are really ambassadors of their parent companies and countries. And it depends on where a company is situated in, that company can get away with a lot of stuff. We don't talk about politics of companies, but it's a big thing because they say we are in a global village, okay? But there are chiefs in the village, and there are sub-chiefs. Anyway, let me come back to our level here in terms of even the company level and what we can address. One big thing we need to know is we cannot cover a sore with a plaster unless we have dressed it well, isn't it? You cannot go talking about solving a problem by just giving it palliatives. We need to be able to look at whichever particular situation has happened in the company and find a more proactive and pragmatic ways of addressing them. Where a dent has been created in the image of a company, obviously, it will create an immediate setback. But that is what life is about. And that's where leadership is needed. When Toyota, in the mid of the 20s, faced the pedal, the brake failure and all that, because we are sourcing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they could have easily just thrown their hands in the air and say, or even shift the blame to the people that they were outsourcing to. But they took the blame. That's Toyota. Just because they're producing for themselves, the whole brand is Toyota. So they took the leadership and addressed them. They called back those cars that were having the problems and all that. And look where they are now. Still the market leader in terms of sales. Okay? Nokia started so beautiful and became so happy with what they were doing before they could say Jack Robinson. They have been taken over. They are still struggling. They lost their market share and being the market leader. Motorola suffered the same thing. Barnes and Noble, the biggest bookshop in the world, lost to Amazon. Did not take charge of how the internet was going to really help. They lost out. So as a company, you must always be looking at the feedback and seeing how you can build upon it, because the customer, to a great extent, determine the product and the nature of it that you sell. When they started yogurt in Ghana, it was sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they realized that Ghanaians, we have got sweetened. They added a bit of sugar. People are happy with it. So it's about knowing your customer and what they want. If you go to India and like McDonald's first realized, a lot of them are Hindus, they don't take beef. If you go and do hamburgers or burgers with beef, are they going to take it? If you go to Saudi Arabia, you go and do something with pork, even in some communities in Ghana. If you go and do pork, whatever, people are not going to, because you need to know your people. And that's what Get Hostess model, the national cultural model, helps us a lot for us to be able to know how we deal with people. If you are going to give a gift, for example, to China, and in China, and you're going to give a gift to a leader, it's very similar.
You're tuned in to Z 101.9 FM. Your lifestyle.
Are we on?
Yes, sir, we are on. Sorry about
great.
that.
Okay, great. So in China, there's something called Mianzi. That means that if you want to say something to people when their colleagues are there, you have to be careful as a leader, because they don't like dropping a tweet. In other words, you embarrassing them before others. You get it? In Japan, for example, when you are sitting down, the boss always sits about something very nice sofa with a sculpture or something in the background. All these are nuances we need to know. In Ghana, when you use your left hand to talk, people don't like it. When people are talking to you, turn your back to them, they are not happy about it. When you are going to do chocolate and it's all color black, it's not nice, because we associate color black with with funerals and all that. You must know all these things as a company. There was a company called P-Cola, and P is like Vivian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where is that company now? If you go on the internet and you type some of the worst brand names, that P-Cola is there, and it was right here in Ghana. Okay? So the naming, the brand identity, the whole brand association, the equity, the loyalty, and all these things, these are all comprehensive things that we need to do, and it tells on how we are able to relate and how we are able to get the feedback from our customers and how we are able to respond, because we are all in the same boat together. And what is that boat? To serve our customers to the very best of our abilities, and our customers always also appreciating our effort in that direction.
Right, Prof. I want to say a very big thank you to you this morning for having this all-important conversation with us. Thank you very much for joining us. We're grateful. I think we've given some value, and I'm sure our listeners have learned a thing or two. So thank you. We hope to have you again some other time for some more conversations.
Great stuff. God bless.
God bless you too. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Right, and that's how we end Business Breakfast on here this morning. My name is Nitra B. Hammond, and it's been great